Opponent gonna send out Talonflame with only one Protect Shield tied behind a Whiff Ball, sending the Rock Slide. Does the opponent respect the damage? Welcome back to the channel. So us content creators love to showcase Pokemon that have recently been buffed, but today we're doing something a little different around here. We're actually showcasing not one but two Pokemon that have been nerfed. Well, at least so you would think so. Let me explain. Pidgeot, one of the many wing attackers that used to dominate the meta, has fallen in usage. However, if you're going to use the Shadow, there's another quick move that is more than viable, and that is the oppressive legacy quick move of Gust. We're also showcasing a Pokemon that I've actually never featured on the channel, believe it or not. This is the home of Shadow Pokemon, so it's about time that Crustle got some love. Crustle's received not one but two nerfs. Smackdown now does less damage, and Rockstar does even less damage. It's actually been nerfed twice now. However, today's battle submitter, Adric, isn't using Smackdown at all. He's opting for Fury Cutter for quicker energy generation. Rounding today's team off, we've got Shadow Bastiodon. We're going to keep the intro short and sweet, so without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, Adric off to a dominating lead, leading our Gust Pidgeot into a Mud Slapper. However, our joy is very short-lived as out comes Dugong. Our team is ABA weak to Ice, or perhaps ABC weak to Ice. Crustle, of course, a Rock type, using Fury Cutter. Isn't going to have the best matchup against some of the more common Ice types, like this Dugong or even a Lowland Sandslash. Adric, exchange Protect Shields, pivots into the super spammy Hippo, goes to the Rock type Weather Ball, but Dugong far too thick, able to withstand the damage. Hippowdon makes a very brief cameo appearance straight in and straight out. We send out Crustle. Crustle commits to that Fury Cutter farm down, and out comes Gastrodon. Gastrodon going to be greeted with the X's lands. Some decent damage. Adric going to continue to farm up, and this is only a body slam. I'd highly recommend not body slamming a Rock type. Rock, a dreadful defensive typing, but normal is one of his very few resistances. We then see the pivot into Pidgeot, and the opponent brings out Ice type number 2, and I think we're very sadly going to be off to a 0-1 start. How the hell do we beat Sandslash? Adric going to YOLO the Brave Bird. Brave Bird! Go shielded. Yeah, this game certainly isn't winnable. If this was Season 10 when Rockslide was still a very good move, I think this would knock out and perhaps have a chance, but unfortunately after two nerfs, Rockslide simply isn't going to get the job done, and Crustle sadly going to get knocked out, and we're going to take a heartbreaking loss heading into the next battle. We lead Shadow Pidgeot into Whimsicott. Let's go. Let's hope disaster doesn't strike this time. The opponent sends out Skarmory. Okay, apparently the opponent also a fan of running Nerf Pokemon. Skarmory on Air Slash is so slow, so clunky. We don't really have the best response. We do send out Hippowdon, but Hippowdon hitting for single resisted with the sand attacks, and these rock type weather balls don't get same type attack bonus. It looks like Adric happy to concede switch advantage and look to get a nice resisted farm down, farming the remainder of Skarmory's HP. Out comes Pidgeot. Pidgeot looking for that resisted Gust farm down, but unable to get it before the Brave Birds reach. Adric deploys the first Protect Shield. Out comes Charger Bug. We're YOLOing the Brave Bird. Does the opponent respect the damage? They do not get that Charger Bug off my screen. Pidgeot absolutely popping off. Just Whimsicott remains. The opponent gonna fire off the Seed Bomb bait, but no bait will be saving this opponent's fate. This Gust damage is absolutely absurd. The opponent just about reached the departing Seed Bomb, but it's simply going to be too little too late as Crustle comes in. Fury Cutter farms down, and we emerge victorious. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow and Shadow Crime. I reckon two Gust knock out that Cacturne from absolute full health. I really hope we get to see some Gust damage land on it later. The opponent save switches into Toxapex, and here comes Hippowdon. Hippowdon actually made that Brawn look like a pretty good move, when in reality it's one of the worst moves in the game, and Toxapex hits like a wet noodle. The main reason to use Toxapex is that it's pretty thick, although it certainly didn't look like it, tanking that Scorching Sands. Back out comes Cacturne. Cacturne, to my surprise, shields up the Rock type Weather Ball. And we're actually looking to realign here. My god, look at the Fury Cutter damage. We've recently showcased Cacturne, and let me tell you, this thing is so glassy. Out comes Drifblim. Adric not baiting, going for the Rock Slide. Rock Slide goes shielded. Can we reach Rock Slide number 2? Astonish, tearing through our HP, but Crustle says, don't worry, I've got enough in the tank. Reach the next Rock Slide, and who cares about any nerf, as it still picks up the one-hit KO, and we take that game. We're only 5 minutes in, and I'm very much enjoying today's showcase. In the next battle, we see very much a core breaker. We're ABA weak to rock. I've already mentioned we're ABA weak to ice. Would I recommend this team? Probably not. However, it is fun to try and use something a bit different from everyone else. Holy smokes. Out comes Gator. Gator. Look to call the bait, and Adric like, nah. I don't masturbate. I'm a big fan of cats, and I'd never kill a poor defenseless cat. We're able to realign. The opponent then sends out Metachan. What is going on with all these nerfed Pokemon? Metachan are going to be instantly greeted with the Scorching Sands again. The opponent reluctant to shield. Despite the Hungry Hippo putting a huge amount of work here in the mid-game, I think we're still doomed in this battle, as I've got no idea how we're going to get rid of that 2-shielded Dunsparce. I think this is one of the few scenarios where I think Feather Dance would be advantageous, as we just managed to lower this damage output. Pidgeot did not appreciate that non-stab Rock Slide, surviving at minimal HP, then pivot out into Crustle. Crustle also not appreciative of the Rock Slide damage, and we're just going to get Rollout farm down. Adric looking to play it out. Our win con would be the opponent looking to shield flex. The opponent like, nah, there's no flexing today, and we are going to concede the match. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see the battle of the oppressive flying types. It's going to be Gust versus Incinerate. It looks like the Incinerate damage is outpacing us. Adric looking to tank this move. Can we survive? Oof, Adric. You obviously know your IVs. I was worried we were going to go down with this energy, but Adric evidently knows his Pidgeot better than I do. He was able to survive the damage, force a Protect Shield, and then we send out Hippowdon. Hippowdon gonna shield up the Flame Charge. Adric ensures this Rock Slide will be landing on Talonflame. The opponent elect to let Talonflame go down, and out comes Azumarill. Wow. This team really doesn't make all that much sense, does it? We're ABA weak to rock, ABA weak to ice, and ABB weak to water. We managed to force a Protect Shield, then pivot out into Crustle. Adric, clearly a fan of playing on hard mode, as again, I'm really not seeing a win con here. Adric gonna farm up, throw the Rock Slide on the CMP tie. This is one of the matchups where you're really going to see the Rock Slide nerf, as that Rock Slide just tickles. Adric just going to let Crustle go down. I don't think we're reaching another charge on Hippowdon. Adric agrees. We're going to concede the match, and we're going to move on to the next one. Let's keep optimistic. There's a good lead. Pidgeot going to double resist the Shadow Claw damage, and it's even better for us that the opponent is opting to stay in. The opponent looking to fake a potential Ice Beam, and we're going to see Adric deploy the Protect Shield. This is almost certainly a bait, but better to be safe than sorry. Adric going to overfarm before firing off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace, a move I famously call Aerial Ass, still going to be enough to knock out from here. After already discussing a lot of our team's dual weaknesses, it's very nice to catch the water type in the lead. Out comes Goodra. Goodra going to be greeted with the Aerial Ace to the face. Aerial Ace force to Protect Shield. It looks like Adric just going to stay in and look to force some energy. We might even survive an Aqua Tail. So the opponent is going to be forced to throw a Thunder Punch to guarantee the knockout. Adric now sends out Crustle. Crustle going to go straight for the X-Scissor, looking to remove Goodra from the field of play. X-Scissor does secure the knockout, and out comes Kanto Marowak. Adric farms up and going to release yet another X-Scissor. Despite Crustle being nerfed, it's actually functioning very well as a bug type attacker. Not that bug's the best offensive or defensive typing, but in neutral situations, the combination of Fury Cutter and X-Scissor does really start to chunk. The opponent reluctant to shield the X-Scissor, and they're now in danger of getting quick move beat down. Adric could go for the Sand Attack farm down, or could throw the double Rock type Weather Ball. We farm up to the double. You know the drill. The first one will be forcing the Protect Shield, and the second one, despite being resisted, is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Crustle in that battle, without a doubt the MVP. Heading into the next battle, we lead Shadow Pidgeot into Gastrodon. Beautiful lead. As long as it's not that double ice team we saw in battle number 1. Even better for us that the opponent is opting to stay in, and they're going for a Body Slam. Body Slam, also a move that's been nerfed. Wow, that really didn't do much, despite Pidgeot being very glassy. Very nice fast move time from Adric. He threw 2 4-turn Gust and the Aerial Ace, only giving away 1 free turn. I'm personally not a fan of using 4-turn moves, because they're really hard to align. You need to throw either 2 moves or 5 moves when you're using a 4-turn move into a 3-turn move, so quite often it's difficult to throw optimal timing. What the hell is on my screen? Vigoroth! This Pokemon has received not 1, not 2, but 3 nerfs. Body Slam now does less damage, Rock Slide does less damage, and Counter generates energy even slower. Callum on toast, is this you, buddy? It's kind of hilarious to see that Vigoroth is now definitely a spicy pick, and I'm actually wondering if people are going to submit that for Battle of Spice. Out comes Talonflame. Talonflame looks to call the bait. Hashtag no baits on this channel, and Crustle picks up that one-hit KO. GG's. Heading into the next battle, a commanding lead. The opponent opting to stay in, so they must be double weak. There is no other reason to stay in such a bad matchup. Hopefully this isn't an acrobatics. Ouch. The opponent able to land the nuke through 2 Protect Shield. Adric looks to return the favour. YOLO in the Brave Bird. Gastron invests a very wise Protect Shield, and we see the pivot into Hippowdon. We see the Protect Shield deployed. The opponent YOLO yet another nuke. Shout out this opponent. They are throwing nuke after nuke. Adric also looking to fire off the Scorching Sands, which goes unshielded. These 2 trainers just throwing absolute bombs. Back out comes Jumpluff, and this is going to be a matchup where that rock type coverage is going to come in clutch. Rock type Weather Ball nearly knocks out the opponent, sends out Aurorus looking for the snipe, but Hippowdon holds strong, reaches the rock type Weather Ball forces the Protect Shield, and Crustle should be able to carry us home from here. The opponent hasn't baited to this point, so Adric gonna burn the protection. The opponent YOLO yet another bazooka, but we shield, reach the rock side, easily gonna knock out. And I think we're gonna be able to Fury Cutter farm down Jumpluff. We actually reached the X-Scissor. Regardless, the outcome would be the same with us emerging victorious. GG's to that opponent, loving the straight nuke strategy. Heading into the next battle. We lead Shadow Pidgeot into Azumarill. Very, very nice to see it here. Not that we're going to appreciate the potential Ice Beam, but the back 2 Pokemon aren't going to appreciate the bubble damage. We're going to see the Protect Shield deployed. Again, I expect to see Adric go for 2 Gust and a Charge Move for optimal fast move timing. Once again, Adric doesn't disappoint, throwing at optimal timing and YOLO in the Brave Bird. Oof, unfortunately, which goes shielded. We're then forced to pivot to reset a debuff. We send out Crustle. Crustle gonna fire off the rock side, but unfortunately this just isn't gonna knock out. Rock side leaves the opponent low, and out comes Drapion. Crustle able to reach the X-Scissor before the opponent potentially knock us out of an Aqua Tail. X-Scissor, shadow on shadow crime. Holy, did a lot of damage. Aqua Tail removes Crustle from the field of play, but once again, our very boxy looking bug has done its job. We send out Hippowdon. Hippowdon gets a very nice Sand Attack farm down. Out comes Talonflame. Talonflame not going to appreciate the double super effective rock type Weather Ball. The first one will be forcing the opponent's first Protect Shield. Adric ensures Talonflame is still on the screen, throwing in the middle of the Incinerate animation. Rock type Weather Ball picks up the knockout. We Sand Attack farm down Azumarill and take that game. Heading into the next battle. What a lead. Double super effective Gust damage due to Chestnut's grass fighting typing. The opponent say switches into Drapion, and this is quite a tricky Pokemon for us to deal with. We opt to send out Hippowdon, where the Sand Attacks are tearing through Drapion's HP. Drapion is just such a menace in this meta. You can see the ability to hit back ground types with super effective comes in clutch. That non-stab Aqua Tail nearly picked up the one-hit KO. Adric looking to fight for switch advantage. Gonna fire off the rock type Weather Ball. The opponent give up on taking back switch, and Chestnut is going to get minimal farm. Adric sends back out Pidgeot. Trainer, you need to pivot. Trainer, you need to pivot. I think after throwing this superpower, that next Gust might actually knock him out, and it does. Wow. 3 Gusts from absolute full health. Poor old Chestnut. The opponent's final Pokemon is Dugong. The opponent wisely shielded the first rock slide, meaning that inevitably going to be debuffing us, but this game is going to be signed, sealed, and delivered. Adric is going to be able to land a rock slide, which is now debuffed, and as we mentioned about 50 times already, double nerf, but it still easily puts him into aerial ace range. The opponent is going to fire off the Icy Wind, removing Crustle from the field of play, but Pidgeot has the move banked. We actually throw an extra Gust. I'm not entirely sure why, but why not? An aerial ace is going to be all she wrote. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we lead Shadow Pidgeot into Altaria. The battle of the Nerf Flyers. Altaria has been nerfed because Sky Attack now costs more energy. In fairness, it does do more damage, but it's still a nerf as Altaria was already very slow to charge moves. We see Adric bank his energy, then say switch into Hippowdon. The opponent fires off the Sky Attack, then opt to stay in. Hippowdon gonna return fire with the rock type Weather Ball. Unfortunately, it doesn't put him in a range where we can Sand Attack farm down instead. The opponent able to get the full Dragon Breath farm down. We now send out Crustle. Crustle going for the one shield resisted Fury Cutter farm down, and hoping to leave with a decent amount of energy to throw at whatever's in the back. My god, Altaria surviving for far too long, but that does give us a whole heap of energy. The opponent sends out Gastrodon, looking to operate as the damage sponge. The first X-Scissor lands. The second one won't quite be lethal, but will leave the opponent insanely low. The opponent actually looked to deploy their first Protect Shield. The opponent looking for that full Mud Slap farm down, but Crustle able to reach one further X-Scissor, forces the final Protect Shield, then pivot out into Pidgeot. The opponent banks their energy and then send out Gator, but that is a huge mistake as Pidgeot has a higher attack than Gastrodon. So all we've got to do is shield, Gust farm down, win charge attack priority, and this game is over. We actually leave with the massive overkill Brave Bird. Aerial Ace would have been enough, but you've got to put the stamp of authority with the Brave Bird picking up that one-hit KO. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow on Shadow Crime. Trainer, abort mission. Get out, get out. The opponent does indeed get out, sending out Typhlosion, and we respond with Hippowdon. Hippowdon going to strike first with the Rock-type Weather Ball, and then we find ourselves in the bait game. You never really want to shield a Thunder Punch bait. The opponent has at least farmed up to the Blast Burn. Adreek respects it. The opponent full send the Blast Burn. Hippowdon able to sand attack farm down and maintain alignment. Back out comes Gallade. Gallade unable to Cycle Cut farm down before the Scorching Sands is reached. The opponent completely sacked Gallade. Poor old Gallade. It was so young, and out comes Gator. The opponent is going to need to land an Ice Beam to have any chance of winning this battle. However, the opponent doesn't even farm up to it, so we easily tank the Hydro Cannon, and that unfortunately is going to seal this opponent's fate, despite running a pretty fun team. Adreek fires off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. It looks like Adreek going to opt to give Crustle some screen time. Hydro Cannon will be moving us from the field of play. The opponent is going to reach one further Hydro Cannon, but of course we're just going to shield this move up. We're going to be able to outpace to the X-Scissor, and X-Scissor is going to be all she wrote, with Crustle being a Feraligatr counter confirmed. That really is a joke. But regardless, the outcome is going to be with Adreek picking up that big fat dub. GG's. Heading into the final battle of today's very fun Shoutcast, we see some Shadow on Shadow Flyer action. The oppressive Pidgeot into the oppressive Dragonite. Can Adreek go for the one shield and full Gust farm down? I'm not entirely sure. It looks like we're probably lower on health. Although the opponent is lagging, which is always advantageous. Oh man, Niantic, please fix this game. Out comes the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death. So we see the pivot into the Hungry Hippo, baiting out Gator. We do kill a poor defenseless cat, going for the Rock-type Weather Ball bait, but I don't dislike that bait as the opponent kind of forced to start shielding. We're then able to land the next Rock-type Weather Ball, and that should be game over. Adreek says, Hippowdon, thank you very much for your contribution. We can just shield once, Fury Cutter farm down, and win come from here pretty simple. Force to shield the Rock Slide, and then Brave Bird that Talonflame for the dub. Out comes Talonflame. Adreek gonna full send the Rock Slide. This should be forced in the final Protect Shield. The opponent clearly knew their win con was for us to go for a pointless bait. We did not, and we take that game. Huge shout out to Adreek for submitting a very fun battle submission. That one was right up my street. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. The link to a battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.